Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Lead Your Life with Debbie Heiser. My name is Debbie Heiser, and I help entrepreneurs make a lot of money doing what they love without sacrificing what's important to them, helping them to unwind messages that we believe as truths that actually keep us bound in what we're doing. So, anyway, with that, thank you for coming today, listening in. I want to kind of review back in January we started to talk about this idea of vision and harmony and looking at our vivid vision. And if you haven't listened to the ones, that's fine. Go back and listen to them. I think they're awesome. But the solo episodes that I do, I have some themes and some things that kind of carry over, but there you can also listen to these standalone. So we talk about kind of having that vision, and then once we have this vision, needing to, like, we have this inspiration, but then needing to come back and have inspired action. And so this month I want to focus a little bit on, okay, I have my vision, I've been taking some inspired action, but things aren't quite moving the way I want them to move, or it's just not happening. And what happens to us then as we go forward? So that's what we're going to focus on in today's episode, is really looking at, got the vision, I've been taking some inspired action, it's not happening, and I feel like I'm hitting a wall. First of all, part of that is patience. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. Other times you change the behavior and you see something very quickly, but what happens is we have this image in our mind of who we are. And if our image is around like this fact that maybe we see ourselves at this limiting ceiling of where we're at, if we start to go up and love, when I say level up, I don't mean like it's just a way to verbalize some of these concepts, but as I'm raising my vibration, as I'm moving into new containers, as I'm going forward in these big, hairy, audacious goals, we hit what's called the terror barrier. And this terror barrier looks like a lot of different things. So if you imagine, here's a line at the bottom of the screen for those of you watching on YouTube. For those of you that are listening, imagine three lines. One is on the bottom, one is in the middle, and one is at the top. And towards the top, in the right-hand corner of this graph, is where you're heading. And to the bottom left is where you've been. So the bottom line shows kind of that starting point of where you're at, and you're creating new set points for yourself. And as you create new set points, we have all these gremlins that come in and our monkey brain takes over, and we go through these things that people are calling imposter syndrome, or we go through these things that we want the big, hairy, audacious goal, but then, oh my gosh, can I do this? And is this what I really want? And all these different questions, and chaos and confusion comes into play. And so what I really am trying to get to today is, what is the chaos and confusion and why does it happen? Well, what ends up happening is, because we have our identity and we see ourselves at this certain, like, who we are, and I'm going to talk about true identity next month, but when we think about who we are, sometimes we have not gotten to the place where we have changed our own identity to see ourselves as this person that we want to become. So part of it is understanding your values, because there are some core things in there that won't necessarily change, but there are things about our behavior that are different than what we're doing today. So as an example, when I know that my big, hairy, audacious goal is to have a multi-million-dollar business that employs numerous coaches, numerous people that are making a huge impact in the world, like creating a social movement to help people have freedom and to be able to have a life that they want, and their businesses are a conduit to that, versus feeling like their life is all centered around their business. Now, I also have a belief that when you do what you love, it doesn't always feel like work too, but there's a harmony that goes along with that. So if I don't see myself as the woman that owns a multi-million-dollar business that allows for other numerous people to make a living, in the work that I'm producing and doing as well, then it's not going to happen because I'm not then acting and making decisions from that place. So the first thing we have to do is step back and say, what does that woman or man look like? What do they do? What kind of decisions do they make? Who do they seek out to gain input from? How do they go about their day to day? What are the things that create what that person does? Now, part of this is it's important to work through it with a coach or someone that can help you look at those things, because sometimes we have certain ideas about what that looks like. Something I run into all the time is I have clients that want to make a lot of money, and they have wrapped around in their head what being a millionaire looks like. And I will tell you, most of the time, it is not the most positive behaviors that they see, or there have been messages that they have heard throughout their lives around how millionaires act, what millionaires do. And like, sorry, for those of you watching, I get these like random things that come up on Zoom now, these like thumbs up and everything. So I haven't figured that one out yet. But they get these messages throughout their life of what a millionaire looks like. And what happens is then they don't see themselves as that person because they're not, right? Because the negative connotation we have around that, we don't want to become. Well, then you start to think about like, who do I know that's a millionaire, that has a net worth? And actually my mastermind and we just did this exercise, and I've done this exercise before, where you go through and you figure out what is your net worth, because chances are a lot of you have a net worth of $1 million and you just don't even realize it. So when you can identify then people that you admire, that have traits that you admire, characteristics, whatever it is. For me, it's about people that have financial freedom, that are, in that multi-million-dollar realm, and even in the seven-figure realm, that they're kind, they're gracious, they're generous. Like, those are characteristics, right? They treat their people well. They run their company with integrity. Those are all things that there are numerous people out there doing in this multiple six-figure and seven-figure world. But we see sometimes those that aren't, and we attach the identity of that to that negative connotation. So I'd ask you to go through and think about that. Now, this also plays into play. Like, I've been working on my health journey. And so with the lens that I'm whole and complete, used to be the lens that there was something wrong with me. So I was always in search of something medically wrong with me. It's a very big, different shift. And so what I've done, and I've done this some in my past, but through a different lens, of finding people that I know that I see as healthy. And then what are they doing? What are the actions they're doing? What is the characteristics that they have that are different than what I'm doing? Because if you think about it, we've learned over and over again, if we want to do something and learn about something to be able to shift, we study. So why not study some of the people that you want to emulate? Because here's the deal. You've heard me even say this, that if there is something happening that's irritating to you, there's something happening that you're having a reaction to, a lot of times we have to put a mirror up and look at ourselves, because usually there's something in the shadow side of us that we don't like about ourselves, which is why we're annoyed or irritated. I used to talk about how I hated being on 1-800 customer service lines, because I dug around and figured out it was because I felt like I wasn't being heard, because they were following their script, right? So not being heard, like being irritated with them, helped me realize, oh, it's because I'm not being heard. Or if I'm irritated with the way someone else is acting around something, usually it's because there's something inside of me that knows I act that way sometimes when I get into situations, right? So these are just some examples. But here's the cool thing. When you look at those people that are healthy, those people that have financial freedom and are multimillionaires, whatever that definition is for you, right? You look at people that own a business and have a life that's not revolving completely around their business. You look at that, and the same thing holds true. You see those characteristics, you see those patterns that they're doing, and you recognize them because if you look in the mirror, you have the same potentiality inside yourself. So the mirror works both ways. It's the law of polarity, right? We can see those areas on our shadow side that are causing us to react or respond a certain way. And you see the characteristics and the way people are responding or reacting based on what you want, and know that you have that area of potentiality inside yourself, which is why you see it in other people. So if we can shift our perspective to looking at those people that we want to emulate, that we want characteristics that are similar, and finding those people, then that gets bigger and we're able to step into that more effectively. Because what ends up happening is like looking at that, identifying those things so that we can emulate and keep our focus on what it is that we want. Because what happens too is we have been given messages all throughout our life. Now, I will tell you, like I had to figure out, like I had been the breadwinner the entire time I was married. So I get the pressures of being the breadwinner in a family. But yet when I got divorced, I was petrified that I would not be able to take care of myself financially. Now, this came through tons of messages that I have received all from like all over the place, that I could not take care of myself without a partner. And I'm not all I am woman, hear me roar. So please hear me when I say this, but there's a lot of very subtle messages that come through, right? Like I think about, I'm aging myself here a little bit, but you think about, now I lost the name of it, the movie Pretty Woman, right? That she couldn't take care of herself or elevate herself without a man's help. And he comes in on the white horse that happened to be a white limousine to save her from the life she had, right? We see it in Cinderella. You see it subtly through all sorts of messages that are out there. We have to unwind those messages because, again, it goes back to seeing what we don't want and what we want in characteristics. And so now that you're aware, you're going to start seeing some of those things more and more frequently. Now, there's other messages out there around you have to work hard to be able to make money. That's a lie. You don't have to work hard. I had a client actually that owns a brick and mortar store that when we first started was burnt out, tired, just I might have to have her on a podcast and talk about this, but we talked about the fact that what if she opened later in the day, giving her some spaciousness in the morning and not feeling so pressured, which then if she wanted to come in a little bit early, she could do some of the administrative work that she felt so weighed down by because she felt so far behind with it. She did just that. She trusted me because she was scared. She was cynical about it. She did it, and she ended up making more money, feeling better about herself, taking a vacation for the first time in a long time, all because of that slight shift. But we have in our mind that we have to work so hard to make money. And it doesn't have to be that hard. These are the kind of messages that I help clients with because they're really they're insidious and they take hold, and we don't even realize, we're not even aware that we have these thoughts. I think I've shared this before that I worked in corporate America for a long time, and you went to work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Now, I will tell you, corporate back in the 90s and 2000s and 2010 and on, there was kind of a overarching feeling that if you were an executive or you were in a leadership position, that you were the first one in and the last one out. Um, I came to learn that that's not necessarily a true um, statement. Like you don't have to be, but there is a culture of that. So 8 to 5 is a misnomer. But the point being is that my hours were couched in this 8 to 5. Now, if I chose to come in at 7 and leave at 6, that was up to me. But like this couching of an 8 to 5. So when I started working here in Sandpoint as in a smaller business and then doing my business on the side and then even stepping into my own business, it took me a long time to realize that I could work or I could ski Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in the mornings and come into work at noon or 1 o'clock and still get everything done that I need to get done for the week. And I was okay working for a couple of hours on a Saturday or Sunday because I knew I had the flexibility to be able to ski when it wasn't packed at the mountain, right? So as an entrepreneur, it's about getting out of some of those messages that we receive that keep us locked in. Now, if you have a brick and mortar store, there are hours that you set, but I would question what are the hours and are those the appropriate hours? And so it's just the self reflection and journey that you go on to look at these messages. So sometimes people don't understand where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do a little bit of work on Saturday. And they're like, it's the weekend. Well, I don't live for the weekends. I live for my day to day. Right. Sometimes I will tell you I get confused on what day it is because it's like, I might do a little bit of work, but I'm way okay with that because again, it's shifting out of the pattern of thinking I have to work Monday through Friday when in fact I can go ski and ski right into the lift versus going up on a Saturday or Sunday and waiting 20 minutes or 40 minutes, depending on which day it is, to hop on the lift. So it's shifting some of those messages that occur to us, right? Another one, like for me in this health journey, is I grew up always thinking that exercise was a necessary evil. Well, it's not a necessary evil. It can be enjoyable. And I enjoy lifting. I enjoy going to the gym and I love skiing. I love to kayak. Like there's things like that that then bring the exercise and it's not all of this effort. So really, I guess I would ask you to think about, and I'm going to close on this for right now, because these are different like messages we have in our minds. And I'm going to talk next time a lot about loyalty packs and contracts that we make with people and even double binds that we have based on this, where we've been, where we want to go, and this terror barrier that we run into. So I would ask you to just give some thought again through the lens of curiosity. And if you listen to me at all, I say this a lot. Look through the lens of curiosity, not the lens of judgment, because judgment lowers your vibrational energy. But it's really about curiosity about, this shows up in an interesting way. Right? Like I'm even facing some of that right now. I have a subscription group here in Sandpoint that I run, and we put something out about, hey, if you're wanting to join a group, here's a great one to join. And I'm having people question, why is it $43? And like these messages about, like I don't, it seems pretty odd that just getting together with a group of women, it would cost $43. And, it's a love project for me. And so I found myself like getting defensive. And then I'm like, whoa, this isn't about me. Right. Like, and being able to then share it, it's supplies, it's my time that I use, all of that. But the point being is like, none of us are immune to it. We have these messages that come in and it's important to just identify them, become aware of them through the lens of curiosity, and start to ask the questions, what is this really telling me? What am I learning from this? And if anything creates chaos and confusion, there's a lie in there. And we don't like to admit that. And I will tell you, I used to be in a state a long time ago when I lived in Kansas City. There were things I wanted to do. I was always in confusion. I was always like, is this? And for me, I come from a faith background and it took me a long time to get over this whole idea of questioning whether it was me or whether is that God speaking to me or is that me? But you know what? The universe, God is a God of clarity, not confusion. And once I understood that and how that applied, and looking at these messages through the lens of curiosity and uncovering what is it that it's really telling me that either I'm afraid of which is usually the biggest piece of it, or that I don't trust myself, or I need to forgive myself about something, so that I could move forward and continue to move towards that person I wanted to become, and identifying the characteristics and actions and decisions that that person I want to become does, so that I can then emulate that now. Because to get to that point, I have to think like that person that I want to become. I need to, and I don't live by the adage of fake it till you make it. That doesn't seem aligned to me, but it's be it until you become it. So I'm going to step in and be that person that does the things to go where I want to go. Like, I had a realization, and I've known this for a while, and it finally just hit me that I just needed to take the inspired action, that in order for me to be inspired, I need to be learning. So I've been getting up again at 5 a.m. and studying from 5 to 7, and then doing my daily routine. And it raises my vibration, and it allows the rest of my day to go. It just is a game changer for me, and it's a non-negotiable now. So it's about identifying those things based on that person you want to be, looking through the lens of curiosity if you see fear or messages that are coming into your brain. And this could be a whole year's worth of podcasts. So I'm going to leave it there. We'll talk more about this. Everyone have a fabulous day, and we'll see you next week.